By way of background, I grew up in an integrated section of Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York, during the height of the Holocaust. As a Jew, I fully understood early in life the horrors of hatred, scapegoating, discrimination, and genocide, and what catastrophic effects it had on people for generations. Also, as an avid Brooklyn Dodger fan, I always gravitated to underdogs. In 1966, I was a community organizer in an area known as the Bottoms, perhaps the worst impoverished section in Texas. I was appalled by the overt racism I saw and the harmful effects it had on the people I lived and worked with. In 1972, I moved to Denver and got a job in a nursing home where a special wing was dedicated to young adults with disabilities as young as 10 years of age. I soon learned that no one in that facility actually chose to be institutionalized, but due to a scarcity of home and community-based services, that was their only option. I had the opportunity of working with the late Reverend Wade Blank, and the two of us used our community organizing skills to make systemic changes, promoting independent living opportunities for persons with disabilities, particularly those who were institutionalized. I take great pride in being the prime organizer of the first major demonstration directed toward a transportation district, that was RTD, back in 1974. This and related actions led to the implementation of the first major paratransit bus system in the United States. In 1974, I co-founded with Wade, who was the principal organizer, the Atlantis community. In 1975, with the help of the City of Denver, the Commission on the Disabled, and the Colorado Department of Social Services, Atlantis moved 15 young adults with severe disabilities out of area nursing homes into the Las Casitas apartments on 10th and Federal. This was the first program again in the United States to actively deinstitutionalize these neglected and oft abused persons. In 1977, I worked for the then Denver Commission on the Disabled before founding Holistic Approaches to Independent Living, a center providing an array of services to adults with severe disabilities. Among the various functions of the Commission was to umbrella grassroots organizations like Atlantis and HALE. As a non-disabled person, I was terribly uncomfortable with my role as director of HALE and soon handed over the directorship to a person with a disability. Knowing that attendant care was a major need for many persons needing assistance with such activities of daily living as dressing, bathing, transferring to and from wheelchairs, bowel, bladder, and skin care, I became a service provider. Over a 30-year span, I helped facilitate service delivery to roughly 2,500 individuals, mostly children with physical and developmental disabilities. Personal Assistance Services of Colorado, or PASCO, the agency I founded and directed until 2012, presently serves close to 1,000 individuals and employs over 1,000 direct service providers. In 2013, PASCO provided approximately 1,250,000 hours of direct services to those consumers. As a CNA myself, I did most of the backup services during the early stages of PASCO and fully understood how hard the job could be. I was determined to be a good employer, additionally to become a good provider. Although my major role was to be a good provider, I did get involved with advocacy issues over the years. In 1992, my daughter Zeva was diagnosed with a terminal disease. Although devastated at first, my wife Lee Fisher and I were determined to give her a quality and comfortable life. I was also determined to support families who had children with disabilities, particularly terminal illnesses. I got involved with Family Voices of Colorado, an advocacy group supporting families of children with disabilities, and served as chairman for close to 20 years. I helped get through the legislature two major Medicaid waivers that opened up approximately 450 slots for children on a waiting list. I have been also active with the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition and ADAPT. Lastly, since this past spring, I have become involved in establishing a center for families who have children with life-limiting illnesses. The proposed center will provide respite, palliative, and end-of-life services to these children. I am chairman of this organization called Haley House. I believe every human being has the inherent right to live as independently as possible, regardless of their disability, race, religion, sex, sexual preference, or age. I've been inspired by the efforts of so many people with and without disabilities who worked long and hard for change, particularly in our community. In New Mobility, one of the major magazines geared to persons with disabilities, Denver was voted several years ago as the #1 city in the country for persons with disabilities to live in. One major thing I would like to be remembered for has been my unconditional respect for people, period. I never pitied people, nor did I lower expectations when working with consumers or employees. I guess I would like to be known as someone who loved his work, provided needed services that enhance independence, was a good and fair employer, and a responsible provider to funders. Thank you so very much for this honor.